Pick up a screwdriver and look at the handle before you use it. It is not a cylinder. There is a narrow zone near the blade, a thicker zone through the middle, and a flattened, rounded end at the top. Running the full length are channels, not just one or two, but several, evenly spaced, all the way from end to end. None of this looks accidental. The narrowing near the blade, the widening through the middle, the channels, the specific rounded shape at the far end. Each one looks deliberate, as though someone made a specific decision about each feature for a specific reason. They did, and the reasons are different for each feature. Understanding them changes how the handle feels in the hand, because you begin to notice what each part is for as you use it. Let's get into it right here on Small Things. What a flute actually does. The channels running along a screwdriver handle are called flutes. At first glance, they look like a grip improvement feature, texture, friction, purchase. That is part of what they do. But there is a second effect that matters more. When you grip a fluted handle, the fingertips settle at the base of each groove rather than riding the outer surface. The effective diameter the hand feels is smaller than the actual diameter of the handle. A flute on a round handle reduces the apparent size of the object in the hand without reducing the actual size. A groove on a flat surface cannot do this. The flute is the engineering solution to a specific problem that the handle's width creates. Where the shape came from. Before the 19th century, screws were individually made, expensive, and rare enough that most craftsmen had no use for a dedicated tool to drive them. When a screw had to be turned, a worker would improvise a turn screw from a file or a shaped piece of iron. Performance was not the priority. Machine-made screws changed this. As mass-produced screws became cheap through the mid-1800s, construction and manufacturing began using them in quantity. Workers needed a real screwdriver, and the obvious question was what shape the handle should take. The answer came not from scratch, but from borrowing. In Sheffield, England, the center of precision toolmaking at the time, the dominant chisel handle was the London pattern. A round pommel at one end, 8 flat sides through the body, and a narrow waist near the blade. Woodworkers had used this shape for decades because it solved the grip problems of fine woodworking, offering control at the tip and force in the body, and it looked familiar to anyone who had used hand tools. When screwdriver makers needed a handle geometry, they took the London pattern directly and put it on a tool for turning screws. Early screwdrivers inherited something else from their improvised predecessors, a flat section machined into the blade itself, just above where the shaft met the handle. This flat was not an accident or a manufacturing artifact. It existed specifically so that a worker with a stubborn screw could reach down with a pair of pliers, grip the blade flat, and apply turning force that no grip on the handle could provide. When your hand is not enough, you extend the system with a tool that gives you more leverage. The blade flat was the first answer to that problem on a screwdriver. The grip surface on these early handles was smooth, and smooth handles slipped. Makers began experimenting with many different grip solutions before the market settled. In 1877, right at the beginning of the commercial screwdriver industry, the fluted handle was patented. Applying channels lengthwise to a round handle produced the apparent size reduction that made a wide handle feel manageable in a working hand. The patent and the industry appeared at almost the same moment, suggesting that the people developing these tools already understood that flat sides alone were not a complete solution for a round-bodied handle. Why width produces force. The science behind why the midsection does what it does comes down to one principle. Turning force depends on how far the grip is from the center of rotation. When engineers calculate the force that turns a fastener, the result is called torque. It is the product of the force applied and the distance from the center at which that force is applied. Double the distance, double the torque from the same force. This is why a longer wrench handle loosens a bolt more easily. The hand is farther from the center, so the same grip produces more turning effect. The hand did not get stronger. The geometry changed. The wide midsection of a screwdriver handle exploits this directly. Gripping at the midsection places the hand farther from the central axis than gripping at the narrow waist near the blade. The grip force from the hand is the same in both positions. The turning effect produced at the screw is not. A full hand wrapped around the midsection applies its force at a larger radius, and a larger radius means more torque delivered to the fastener. The midsection feels similar to hold. It is measurably different in what it produces. The same principle is what makes the six-sided modern handle significant. A box wrench fitted over those flats extends the radius of force application far beyond what any hand grip on the handle can reach, whether the turning force comes from a hand at the midsection or a wrench at the flats. The underlying arithmetic is identical. Farther from center means more turning effect from the same input. There is a cost to making the midsection wide. A handle large enough to produce useful torque at hand grip distances is also a handle that feels large to hold for precision work. The flutes address this cost by allowing the fingertips to nest at the base of channels rather than spanning the full surface. They change the apparent size of the handle in the hand without changing the actual diameter that produces the mechanical advantage. The width stays. The awkwardness of the width is reduced. Why the pommel is that specific shape? The rounded end of a screwdriver handle is called the pommel. Most people notice it is rounded and assume that is for comfort, since a smooth surface is less likely to dig into the palm than a sharp edge. That is true, but it is not why the pommel is that specific shape. A flat surface would be more comfortable to press against than a rounded one. A flat pommel would distribute pressure evenly across the whole palm. A rounded surface concentrates contact at the highest point of the curve. The reason the pommel is rounded is not comfort. It is rotation. When a screw is difficult to drive, the hand needs to press down and rotate at the same time. If the pommel were flat, pressing the palm against it would create friction between the flat surface and the flat palm. That friction would resist the rotation the other hand is trying to produce. The flat pommel would fight the turn. A rounded pommel allows the palm to rotate against it. The curve acts like a ball in a socket. The palm can spin around the contact point while pressing downward. Push and rotation do not interfere with each other because the geometry prevents flat surfaces from meeting. The reason the pommel is not flat, not pointed, and not a sharp dome is the same reason. Each of those shapes would interfere with the rotation in a different way. The rounded form is the specific geometry that keeps a hand pressing downward free to spin at the same time. 3 ways people actually use it. A Finnish carpenter driving small screws into trim work pinches the narrow waist between thumb and forefinger and turns with the fingers, barely moving the wrist. The grip is close to the blade. Small errors in direction are caught immediately. The screw goes in straight without the wood splitting. If asked later what zone of the handle they used, most carpenters could not tell you. The hand finds the right place on its own. Someone trying to drive a long decking screw into dried hardwood reaches the point where the wrist alone cannot generate enough force. They shift their grip to the thicker midsection and apply their whole arm. If that is still not enough, they reach for a box wrench, slide it over the handle, and use the wrench like a bolt head. The handle has 3 different answers to the same problem at 3 different scales of difficulty, and the hand moves through them in sequence without instruction. A person trying to remove a screw that has been in place for 15 years, possibly painted over, possibly rusted at the head, cups the pommel end against their palm and presses down while turning. The downward pressure keeps the blade engaged in the slot. The rotation and the pressing come from 2 different parts of the hand at the same time. Without the pommel, the 2 forces would have to alternate rather than combine. These are 3 people using the same handle in 3 different ways, with no overlap between the zones they are using or the problems they are solving. The hand as the brief. The screwdriver handle accumulated its shape over generations. None of the changes were aesthetic decisions. Each one addressed something the hand encountered that the previous version of the tool could not handle well enough. The hand has not changed across any of those generations. The grip of a worker in Sheffield in 1870 is anatomically identical to the grip of a carpenter today. The same fingers span the same distances, find purchase in the same ways, and struggle with the same problems when driving a screw. Tools that solved those problems kept their solutions across generations. Tools that did not were replaced or forgotten. The handle looks like a complicated shape because it is the accumulated record of consistent problems finding their specific answers, one at a time, across more than a century of use. If this changed the way you look at the next screwdriver you pick up, let us know in the comments what you want us to explore next. We might make it our next episode. Thanks for watching. History often hides in the smallest details.